All right, welcome everybody. This is the October 2020 edition meeting for the Utah Valley Amateur Radio Club. Welcome to all. And sorry, we just had an earthquake. I think we're okay now. Appreciate that. And first of all, I just want to say thanks to Trevor for setting this up for us. He's volunteered his workplace and with all his high-tech good stuff, and he's got 4K this and really, cool monitors and things. And just thank you very much, Trevor. Appreciate that a lot. Okay. Well, the door prize numbers are closed. We're going to go ahead and take them as they are. And Brent's got all the numbers and so forth. So we're going to do the door prizes near the end of our show tonight. So let me just kind of announce what we've got. First of all, we're going to hear a little bit about the swap meet we just had this last weekend from Wendy. We're going to hear about new hams from Lauren. And I'm going to announce a couple of the events that are happening up in the near future. And then we'll have our presentation tonight by Chris Andrist. And following that, then we'll have our door prizes. So let's go from there. So this time, Wendy, please go ahead and take it away.
Very good. So I'm very excited that we have had such a great turnout for the swap meet. Saturday down at the Spanish Fork North Park Pavilion. It was a good turnout. We had some good vendors. We had some good prizes and made some money. So we paid for the location and made a few $100. So it was a good turnout, good opportunity to socialize, and appreciate everyone that participated, and hope you had a good time. So that was our last activity. And so I really appreciate everybody doing the work for us and helping out and having a good time. KW3NDY, back to net control. I don't know. Feels like net.
Well, that's true. It does. Well, thank you so much, Wendy, for organizing it and getting everything together, and for Karen too for being at the door and taking all the money and everything. In fact, you kind of got to watch Karen. If you don't watch her carefully, she will take your money. But still, thanks to everybody for helping out and all the legwork that Eric and Carl and so many others put in for that. So great swap meet. Not as good a turnout as last year, but still really good. Appreciate everybody's help. So up next is Lauren. He's got his spot. Go ahead and take it away, Lauren, please.
All right. How's my audio, Noji?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, we have a lot of new hams, so you're going to have to bear with me as I read these names. I'm not going to read the call signs. That would take too long. So the new hams are Richard Reynolds, Greg Rousson, Tucker Toulson, Samuel Buck, Benjamin Salazar, Zachary Watson, Thomas Johns, Jonathan Spencer, Keith Castleton, Tina Rasmussen, Michaela Waters, Charles Castleton, Andrew Clark, Vicky Matheson, Benjamin Cox, Scott Mangles, Kai Tetsuo, Kimitaka Goto, Susan Carey, Samuel Dahl, Trevor Durham, Alvin Johnson, Daniel Kirkman, Scott Mears, Matthew Nichols, Alan Hundley, Colin Bernhardt, Justin Larson, Dave Boyd, Wyatt Wheeler, Cameron Olson. Okay, upgrades. Tom Parkinson upgraded to Extra, Ben Payne to General, Kelly Holt to General, Jeremy Estes to Extra, Gary Dusbabek to General, Alex Markham to General. And it looks like that's the end of my list. Did we miss anybody?
If we did, it's my fault. And I got everything up to date for today. So if there's any more, I'm sorry that I missed them.
All right, well, that's it. And let's give everybody a virtual round of applause for all these new hams getting it done during COVID. So congratulations, everybody.
Thank you very much, Lauren, and congratulations to all the new hams and upgrades. Hope to see you soon at some of our events. All right, next I'll just make a couple of quick announcements. I'm not going to mention a lot of things. We got a lot of stuff that's happening in the near future. If you go to our website at uvarc.club, uvarc.club, you're going to see a lineup of the next 6 months worth of activity or club meeting, what do you call them, presentations that we're going to have. A lot of good stuff coming up. And let me just mention a couple of things, one of which is on there. Number one, so in January, so some of you guys remember that video clip of Jay Leno when he set up this contest between the CW guys and the text message guys. We're going to redo that contest in January in our own club, and we're going to make see if that was real or if it was faked out. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Which is better, CW or text message? All right, and then also sometime this next spring, we're going to have an ugly antenna contest. And that means we want to have you demonstrate. I don't care who enters or who doesn't. You don't have to if you don't want to, of course, but anyone who wants to can enter into this contest. And if you do enter, you will win big. If you win bigger. But this ugly antenna means that this antenna that you make has to be something that actually works. And we need to see that you demonstrate this antenna working. It could be HF, could be VHF, UHF, we don't care. Microwave, right? Sure. So, but it's an ugly antenna so ugly antenna means something that's unusual. If it's just a regular, go to the store and buy Yagi antenna, that's not what we're after. We're after you making an antenna out of a chain link fence or a bed spring or I don't know, what else? You know, a light bulb. Okay, anything that's not usually considered an antenna, we're gonna have a contest, and anyone who enters anyway can win something. So there you go. Well, okay, I reached my end here, and
Do you want me to do this?
then now it's time for Trevor to make his announcement. Thanks. Sorry.
That's fine. Kevin Reeve at the BARC, is that Bridgerland Amateur Radio Club? Anyway, up in Logan, they are having a Swaptoberfest swap meet on October 10th. So that's a week from Saturday, next weekend, at the Cache County Fairgrounds at 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. It's outside under a pavilion, and the tables are free and entrance is free. You can you have to bring your own table, it sounds like, or sell out of your vehicle because you can drive on the grass there. So if you didn't get enough from our swap meet, you can go to theirs next week. And their website has more information, barkonline.org/Swaptoberfest.
So barkonline.org/Swaptoberfest.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I can forward Kevin's email to the club if you guys are interested. So if you want to make the drive up to Logan for a free swap meet, sounds like it could be good.
So no entrance fee, no
fee.
That's good. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Trevor. Appreciate that. All right, and we did have other announcements that other clubs wanted to make, but they couldn't make it tonight. So if you know of someone outside of our club who do want to make announcements and such, they are free to do so. We are happy to invite any other clubs to join with us in our activities, announcements, our presentations, club meetings, whatever. And we'd love to have them. We are not a Utah Valley Amateur Radio Club only bunch. We like to invite the entire state region to have fun with us. All right, well, this time I am going to turn over the time to Chris. Chris is our presenter for this evening. I'll let him introduce the topic and everything associated. So Chris, if you are good to go at this time, the time is now yours.
All right, thanks, Nochi. It says I can't do screen sharing though.
Oh, okay, let's fix that. Give us a second. We'll see if we can fix that for you. Where are you?
Okay.
There you are.
Okay, there it is. It says now I'm co-host. So I do this one. All right, so hopefully you guys can see my screen. My name is, like I said, my name is Chris Andrist, call sign KC7WSU. I represent a group called DMR Utah, for those of you that may or may not have heard of it. So we're a group of, not really a club, we're just a group of individuals that we all maintain commercial DMR repeaters throughout the state of Utah. So we run, our coverage goes from pretty much like the south end of Utah County, about Spanish Fork, and we go all the way up to the Utah-Idaho border, following I-15 and also up into Logan. So, so that's kind of a little about us. I got into DMR about 6 years ago now, and so it's been kind of an interesting ride, and I'll talk a little bit about that. So, so it's funny that the first thing I always get asked by people is, why DMR? What's the purpose? Why should I try this newfangled thing? I've kind of broken it down into 4 things. The biggest is you do get improved voice quality. So with DMR, you're using a newer codec. So you do get that. You get improved functionality. So you're adding things like location, text messaging. We do digital APRS, or also known as DPRS. And there is some enhanced security. So they do, there is some ways to do authentication. The radios offer encryption, just not allowed for amateur radio use. But there's some authentication if you did want to do a closed network system. And then we do have some authentication features if you're worried about somebody using your ID. And then there's also some improved channel efficiency. So you do 2 time slot TDMA, and we'll get more into that. But these are kind of the big ones that most people look at. So DMR is an ETSI open standard. So it was published in 2005, so it's 15 years old at this point. And for those of you that have worked with anything open, the nice part about that is it's just that. Anybody who wants to could build a radio, could build a repeater, could build a component that adds on to it. You're not just limited to a few select people. You're not limited to the ICOM, the Yaesu, the Kenwood, any of those, the Baofeng. Anybody can do it. We do use the Ambi voice codec, which is the same as System Fusion. That has some benefits. It's a newer codec than you'd be using on D-Star, but same as Fusion. So better signal quality. When you do go digital, you lose things like the hiss, the pop, repeater IDs. And then we also add forward error correction and a CRC check for those of you that are familiar with those. So basically the idea behind it is that when your signal goes out, it checks to make sure it got everything before it basically plays it out to the user. So there's some checks in there as part of that stream. And you don't get more signal, and you wouldn't get like I've heard somebody say, oh yeah, I can use my radio further. I don't believe that. RF is still RF. It's still the same. There's no way that like all of a sudden magically you're going to get an extra 20 miles out of it. You may get a little more usable area, because before you may hear pops or hiss, or somebody's down in the weeds, you can't hear them. Where with the digital mode, you would be able to hear them crystal clear still, but you wouldn't actually get more range out of it. The RF isn't changing. So the big thing for a lot of people is this idea of TDMA, which is the 2 time slots in one. The idea behind it is that you can't have 2 talk paths on a single frequency, and it's the equivalent of having 2 repeaters. Be like having a 447,000, a 447,125 repeater, having 2 frequencies and being able to talk on both of them at the same time. But the only problem with that is in that scenario, you need 2 repeaters, you need special combining equipment, you need frequencies that are separated. There's a lot of technical limitations with that. Whereas when you use TDMA, which is same technology they used to use on old digital cell phones, is it divides it by time as opposed by frequency. So the first like 5 milliseconds of a transmission is slot 1, and then the next 5 is the next one, and the next one. And so they're kind of, your radio's pulsing as it's transmitting, as opposed to just transmitting on the whole time. So it can be a lower infrastructure cost. It's definitely cheaper than putting up 2 repeaters. and you basically get that same capacity out of one system. So very, very nice, better use of the frequency spectrum out there. The biggest thing I hear people say all the time too is, well, that's fine. I could just get 2 frequencies, or I could take my coordinated 25 kilohertz frequency. I could split it in 2, have 2 repeaters right next to each other. No, it's a great idea. It just doesn't work technically. The frequencies being too close together will interfere with each other. They will desense each other, and you won't be able to use 2 of them next to each other. So you could do it. You do have to have them decently far apart on the frequency band, and then you do need some special filtering equipment. So it can get expensive. One of the filters that I looked at that I've looked to buy to have 2 repeaters on one site, you're talking about $5,000 to $10,000. So you figure for $5,000 or $10,000, how many repeaters could you put if you had to put them other places? Or you buy 1 DMR repeater and you're able to do the same thing with 2 talk paths. You do get longer battery life because remember the radio is pulsing. It's not like 50% better, but most people, they say about a 40% is about average. People are seeing real life, you're seeing 20 to 30, 35% better, which is nice if you need the longer capacity. So the other thing that's a little different that you won't find on some of the other digital systems is talk groups. So talk groups is this idea that it's a virtual channel. And so you could be talking on one repeater, but you can say, hey, I want to use like this one's like talk group number 91. That's worldwide. And what happens with that is anybody else in the world that's on a DMR repeater, they key up talk group 91, you can all talk together. But somebody else on another repeater could be using talk group 93 or 3100 or 3149 or whatever it may be. They can use these different talk groups to kind of segment themselves out. Like the Utah statewide, the 3149, that's the one we use most often here in the state. But the talk group numbers start at 1 and they end at almost 1.7 million. So there's a lot of different talk groups. You don't need to memorize all of them. To be honest, only about 1,500 of them are even used or reserved. So there's lots out there, especially if you want to say, hey, I want to have a talk group with just my friends and we want to talk on 56, 85, 10 or whatever it is. You could use a talk group, all of you program it in your radio, and you could all have a virtual channel that you could talk on and have with just your friends. So remember we talked to it is an open standard. So these are just a few of the manufacturers out there. You've got Tate, Motorola, BFDX, Harris, Hytera, Sephora, TYT, Standard Vertex, Simoco, Samhu, Karasun, KYD. So these are just a few. Last time I looked, there were about 150 to 200 manufacturers that make DMR radios. And I haven't added to this list in years, but you'll see here in a couple slides some of the more popular ones that have popped up recently. So radios, you start looking at some of these other digital modes. So you've got your D-Star radios, your Fusion radios, your DMR, and your P25 phase 2. So you'll notice they're price-wise, DMR can be really affordable. There's some DMR radios that, like you see, they're about $50, and there's some DMR radios that are $3,000. So you can kind of figure out what you like or what's best for you. You don't have to say, hey, I have to. The starting price for a radio is $300. I have to jump in and spend $300. You can start with a starter or a beginner radio and then move to something else if you change your mind. So great option, and it's a great way to kind of get into it. $50, buy a radio, try it all out, see what you think. So here's some other manufacturers you may or may not have heard of. So you've got Baofeng. The other one that's really popular these days is this Anytone. It's called the ATD878UV. It's about $200. And then you also have this other Anytone. Anytone's come out with a mobile radio. It's about $400. So still not bad in the realm of what you're getting. So pretty reasonable. to think that for $600 you could have a mobile and a handheld, or you could just have a handheld, whatever you wanted. There is I've seen another one that a friend of mine just bought not too long ago. It's a DMR mobile. I think he paid about $150 for it. It does
Question.
only, yeah, go ahead.
On those handhelds, could you sorry, can you use the same antennas that you use like on your other ones, or do they require a different type of antenna?
They use some of them use the standard SMA, and some of them use the female SMA. So you've got both options on there, but they're pretty standard, like most of the Baofangs and things use.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So yeah, so not too bad to get into. Can be relatively inexpensive. The nice thing too with these ones, you'll notice all three of these radios, they are all dual band also, and they will do analog. So you get your digital and you get your analog in them. So really nice. The other thing is, if you've never used, the big difference you'll see too is a lot of these radios are channelized. I don't know how many of you have used a channelized radio. I've used channelized radios now for 20 something years and love it. The idea that I can have one zone and I can put all these different channels in and I can flip through them with a knob, as opposed to just the giant list of 1,000 all in one place. You can segment them, because you could say like, okay, this is an Orem zone, this is a Provo zone, this is a Utah County zone, this is a Utah State zone, this can be a Wyoming zone, this could be, you can kind of segment however you want. And even if you don't use it for digital, I know a lot of people that buy it because they love the channelization on analog even. So kind of a neat feature for those of you that may or may not have ventured into channelized radios.
I've got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
We all know the Baofangs, and we all know the quality of them for the price. Are the DMRs in the Baofang about the same quality as they are in the analog?
That's an interesting comment, because I hear that a lot. The analog performance on these is about as good as the analog performance on any regular Baofeng. But the DMR performance, if you listen to somebody talking on a Baofeng and you listen to somebody talking on even say an Anytone or a Motorola that's $1,000, you'd be, I don't think you could really tell me who had which radio. It's really hard to distinguish. So they actually work much better on DMR than they do on analog. Yeah, I never thought I'd see the day where I would recommend somebody spend $50 or $60 on a Baofeng, but
Thank you.
yeah. Any other questions? All right, I got more, but yeah, if you've got questions, feel free to stop me. So DMR, they are designed originally for commercial use. It wasn't designed for amateur radio, so it is a little different. There can be a learning curve on it. We do try and make that easier by offering some things on our website. The other neat thing is you do get site-to-site roaming. So many of you are probably familiar with things like the intertie. Well, think about the idea of the intertie, but that you could program your radio and you could drive everywhere that the intertie is, and the radio would automatically switch repeaters for you and automatically pick it up. That's what we offer with site-to-site roaming. You basically can key up, you keep driving, and you just keep keying up the radio. It'll automatically find the closest repeater that's carrying that, and you'll just keep your conversation going up and down. You can drive all over. As long as you keep being within range of a repeater, you'll just keep carrying that conversation on. So really neat feature. Most of them are rugged radios, so they're designed with a waterproof IP67 or IP68 rating on them. They are open standard. We do offer private calling. You can do a one-on-one call between you and another person. It's not encrypted, but it is just a private call. And it is a very large amateur DMR network. The DMR network is where, last I looked, there was between 7,000 and 10,000 repeaters. And just to put that in perspective, The next largest like amateur digital network is about 900 repeaters. So not only is it much bigger, and there's a higher possibility there'd be a repeater nearby. Yeah, they're everywhere, and there's a bunch of stuff to use, and they are. I feel like they're easy to use once you understand kind of how channelization and talk groups work. It's a really easy radio to use. So here's our coverage. So you'll see down here, we go all the way down from kind of southern part of Utah County, all the way up. We go into Logan, we go into Riverside, Wellsville, and then we have machines that take us all the way up to the Utah-Idaho border. So industrial repeaters, there's a couple different options out there. You can buy a Motorola industrial repeater, or you could buy a Hytera. There is a couple other ones out there. I haven't seen them really for sale for the commercial market. They're normally for big enterprises, and that would be your Tates and the Harrises, but they do exist. This is primarily what we run. We run on all of our mountaintop sites, we're running Motorola or Hytera repeaters. So they're rock solid. But we also, because it's ham radio, there's also this option of a homebrew repeater. Basically, the idea behind it is you connect a transmitter and a receiver, just like you would any other repeater. You take an analog, or you can even like take an old analog repeater, or just two mobile radios, connect it to an Arduino, basically, there's an Arduino on it, has some connections on it, and most people then plug that into a Raspberry Pi. So for about $500, you could build a repeater. You could have a repeater at your house if you really wanted to kind of build out the network. And if you don't want to go that far, say you just want one for just you, there's this option of hotspots. So you could have these hotspots that most of them all run on top of a Raspberry Pi of some sort. So you've got like these, so one on the left, the DV Mega, runs on like the older full-size Raspberry Pis. And then this next one in the middle is that's a Raspberry Pi Zero, no display, runs on, and this whole kit you can make here runs about $40. And then this one on the right, you could do one just like this. You could also build one just like that yourself, and they run about $50 to $60 with a display on it. Yeah, go ahead.
So what powers these little Raspberry Pi things?
So they have a power jack on them. So you could either use a wall adapter, or you could use like a battery bank. So you have several options. I know a lot of people that run them in their car, and they just use the little cigarette adapter, use the micro USB, and just plug it in and run them in their car.
So it's a micro USB?
Correct.
Okay. And then how does it connect to the radio with the antenna?
So yeah, it uses the antenna. So normally what happens is you still have to have a DMR radio. So you talk with your DMR radio into the hotspot, and then the hotspot uses an internet connection to bridge you into the back end of the network. So for like these little ones that are like the Pi Zero, you could use your home Wi-Fi. And even when people go mobile, they'll just turn on the hotspot feature on their phone, connect the Pi Zero to it, and then now they're on the internet and they're able to access the network. So the idea behind these is that you may not be within range of a repeater, or hey, you want to play with some stuff, you want to try something else out that you've never tried before, and you don't want to do it on a repeater, so you buy a little hotspot. You can try it out, it's yours. If it does weird stuff and you can't figure out what's wrong, you just unplug it and fix it and plug it back in.
And it doesn't come in a little case. You have to make your own little case for it?
You can buy a bunch of cases. You can do this. This happens to be one, this black one happens to be one that I designed, and I own a 3D printer. So I 3D printed it. And but yeah, you can buy a bunch that have cases. You can buy different cases. Most of the cases are about $5 to $6. And then there are some more commercial options for hotspots too, of people that pre-build ones and it's the whole kit, and then you can just buy it from them. So they have those options too.
Thank you.
No problem. Yeah, so these are kind of the do-it-yourself version. So they're much cheaper. You'll find, yeah, they're about, yeah, between 150 to $100. And so these other hotspots, these are commercial implementations. So they are just that. It's a unit designed by somebody else, and it's everything all in one. Kind of the idea is plug and play. So this one, this Hotspot 2 and the OpenSpot 2 and the OpenSpot 3, the biggest difference you're going to find is the OpenSpot 2 is about $250 and the OpenSpot 3 is about $300. So it's a pretty big jump from doing it yourself to having somebody do the whole thing and kind of do it for you. But some people like that. So no other options there. And then this is another option that is kind of newer that's out there. And it's in Android, or most of these are in Android phone. And then it has a built-in DMR radio, and it does radio over IP, so it can use your cellular connection and connect you into the back end of the network. So if you're outside the range of a repeater, some of these will automatically switch from your RF to radio over IP. It'll automatically know, hey, I'm outside the range, and it'll automatically switch over and just keep your conversation going. So if you lose coverage, as long as you have cellular, you're still going. So cool option. I know some people like it. They carry it as their phone, and they're every day. So, but yeah, pretty neat. So just as kind of an idea, this one here on the left is Hytera. Hytera is $2,500. And then going down to the RF Finder, I think the last number I saw there was about $950. And then you have the next one, which is made by a company called Box Chip out of China, and those are about $449. So kind of another spread of options that'll all kind of do the same thing. And then this is another option. So this is called the DV Mega Cast, and this is kind of different too, because the idea that you basically plug internet into the back of it, and then in the front of it you plug in a speaker microphone. So it works as more like a mobile radio. You plug into the front of it a handheld microphone, and it has a speaker and a volume control and a little touch screen, and you can talk on the system just like you had a radio. But with this, you don't actually need a radio. It does all the connections as long as you have an internet connection. So it's kind of a neat setup, especially if you wanted to do it at your home, have it on your bench or in your shack. It's cool too because it'll do DMR, it does D-Star, it does Fusion. If I remember right, it does P25 also. So it would do kind of all four of those. They run about $400. So about the price of a nice mobile radio. Does them all digitally. So for any of you that are interested, we do have a Hotspot, kind of a build guide. It has all of the parts and what you would need to buy and how that all works. So pretty easy. It breaks down all the parts. You can build them. So kind of fun to do. I would say most people that I know that kind of got into DMR at some point decide, hey, I want a hotspot so I can play and I can do other stuff, and I don't have to worry about tying up the repeater, but they can still try some things out. And it's fun to learn too, especially if you don't know Linux very well and you want to play with Raspberry Pis and you've always thought, I need a cool project. This is a cool project to play with for Raspberry Pi. Gives you the idea to play with Linux, gives you the to play with radio a bit. So lots of fun.
Here's a question.
Yep.
Is there a certain model Raspberry Pi as a minimum that you have to use to build the hotspot?
Yes, it does need to be a Raspberry Pi 2, I believe. So it has to be at least a 2, and that's because on the Raspberry Pi Model 1, they had the smaller like connector for all the auxiliary pins. And on the 2, I believe they expanded it. So it went from like 35 to 44 pins or something like that. They expanded it. So you need the one with the more pins. So I believe it's a Raspberry Pi 2. But a lot of people use the Pi Zero, and the Pi Zero is $10 versus like a Raspberry Pi 3 or a Raspberry Pi 4. They're still $35, but a Pi Zero is $10. So that's what most people are using.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Once in a while, I'll go up into the mountains with a whole bunch of friends, and we'll be way up in the middle of nowhere where there's no signals. If I made a Raspberry Pi hotspot and just hooked it up to solar, and we had a bunch of the cheap $50 Baofangs, would we be able to keep track of one another over the range of Baofeng, like a mile or so, and not have anything external? Would it work in an isolated system like that?
So as a hotspot, no, because the hotspots are still simplex. So you would need, if you wanted to do something like that, you would need to do more of like a repeater. You could do like an MMDVM based repeater, and it would be isolated. But most likely within the range of a mile, if you had those DMR handhelds that were the Baofeng, you could do simplex within a mile, no problem.
Okay.
Yep. So next thing really is, how do you get started? The main one is you do need a radio. And the next thing you need is what we call a DMR ID. So everybody's given a, what is it these days? A 7-digit ID. So everybody's given a 7-digit ID that you program into your radio, and that just identifies who you are. So you will need one of those. And then from there, you need repeater information, your hotspot information. And really though, depending on the radio you buy, if you buy some of these ones, at least the ones I've recommended, we have code plugs and starter files to kind of get you on the air quickly right off of our website, which is dmr-utah.net. The other thing is we do have a weekly DMR net. It is on Talk Group 3149. It's on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Mountain Time. So that is something that you can get on, and we'd love to have you. That's actually hosted by Roger, who's an amazing net control operator. It's a lot of fun, so we have a good time. So we'd love to have you there if you do decide to get a radio. Also, there's some other online resources. The Amateur Radio Guide to DMR is available on our website, dmrutah.net. Our website in general, there is a contact us form. You can say, hey, contact, and you get in touch with me. It does come into my email box, so I'm happy to help out. We do use something called Brandmeister. So there's the Brandmeister network. There's a lot of groups on groups.io. If you're not using groups.io, it's basically everybody that was on Yahoo Groups moved to groups.io. So there's a bunch out there. There's a bunch of YouTube videos. There's a Brandmeister wiki. And then we also have a Telegram channel. That's probably our most active place. If you go DMR Utah /Telegram, it's basically a chat application. If you've never used it before, you can use it on your phone, on your desktop. And it's fun. We just chat about all kinds of different things on there. People are talking about, hey, I got this new radio, or I'm stuck here, or hey, I got this hotspot, or what about this, or has anybody tried this before? You'll have a lot of people that are like, hey, I just learned this. For those of you that have XYZ radio, this might be cool to know, or just things like that that are kind of fun to keep up with, and kind of keeps everybody going. We do have Slack, not really popular. Telegram's really most popular for us. And then Telegram, basically we chose that because there's about 5 or 6 other big DMR groups that are also on, and they all use Telegram. So we kind of decided to move there at the same time. All right, so any questions?
Yeah, this is Chad. Can you just list off the repeaters in Utah County and where they're at? I know you put up that coverage map, but what repeaters are down here and where are they located?
Yeah, so in Utah County, there's one repeater. It's in Woodland Hills. So it's at about 7,000 feet. So it's not super high. It's not on the top of the mountain. Those of you who don't know where Woodland Hills is, it's just almost directly south of Spanish Fork, kind of up on that hill. I've heard that there's some other repeaters. None of them that I know of are online at the moment. And most of them are just homebrew repeaters, but the only industrial repeaters in the county right now is mine. And we are working, I've got a contact we're working to move it to West Mountain at the moment. So.
Question?
Right. Yeah.
Question. Why did you call yours a industrial repeater?
So industrial repeater is that basically it's a repeater comes out of the box and everything's all built in and hardwired to it. So it comes as is, it's already ready to go. So we consider them industrial repeaters versus a homebrew repeater. And we say that mainly because we've seen a lot of homebrew repeaters, and most of them are not very stable, and for one reason or another, I know some that are really great and they're always up and they're always working, but we've decided, at least for ours, like if you look on our website, all the ones that we list as primary repeaters all happen to be industrial repeaters made by either Motorola or Hytera, because they just work. We plug them in and they just work for years. I normally reboot my repeater about once every 18 months. So it's pretty good. It's normally because I'm doing a firmware update, so it has to reboot.
How often do the code plugs get updated for the different radios? I think I put mine in probably 2 years ago. I haven't looked since. Should I be checking for code plug updates, or do they stay pretty stable?
We try and keep them the same. We made a big change about 18 months ago. But in general, I don't know that we'll change them a lot, just because the idea behind the code plug for us is we give you something to start out with, something to put in your radio and for it to start working today. And nothing really has changed in that amount of time. And if somebody says, well, the biggest thing is somebody will say, hey, I want to add another talk group. I want to talk to X, Y, and Z. I want to talk to the Northern California guys, or I want to talk to the Washington State guys, or I want to talk to the Colorado guys. The nice thing is in the code plug, you can kind of see how it's laid out, how it's set up. And then all you really need is to find out what that other talk group number is, make 3 modifications to your code plug, and now you can talk to those guys. So we kind of try and not change it, just for the idea that you can get it in, get it working, and then as you learn more and you decide who you want to talk to, you'll start adding those things to yours custom.
I have a question, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wondered, are all the operations that take place on the DMR network, are they still following the same rules and regulations of the FCC insofar as IDing and so on?
Yes. So there's been a couple things raised with the FCC that the DMR wants to make it so that your DMR ID becomes your legal identification, so that it's transmitted over the air as part of the digital signal, but it hasn't, the FCC has not approved it yet. So we are still IDing every 10 minutes, and we still have repeater IDs that go out. So there's still all of those, but yeah, we do still have to adhere. There's nothing built into the technology right now that allows us to alleviate some of those yet.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Well, if not, if you do have questions, feel free to reach out to us. dmrutah.net. You'll find all of that. And yeah, or on Telegram, or hopefully we'll hear you on the air. So thanks for having me. And I'll turn it back to you guys, Noji.
Okay, Chris, so Jody online has a question that you probably didn't see on the chat there, but he's just simply asking who uses one of the cheap Baofeng DMRs, and would you recommend it?
Yeah, so years ago, the kind of the first person that started into DMR here in Utah, his name's Roger. He had gone out to Dayton, got a radio, came back, and brought it back to Utah and realized he was the only one in the state that had a radio. So he put up the first repeater. He actually has a bunch of them. He probably has 6 or 7 of them, and they use them for various different things. He really likes them. I've talked to a couple other people that have them, and they like them. They're worth, they are worth the $50. I don't know that I would spend $100 on them, but yeah, $50, $60, they're worth it.
Right, then I have another question from me, and that is when Baofeng first came out with their DMR radios, they had a problem in which they were kind of accidentally cross-banding on their 2 frequencies, and have they overcome that largely now?
Yeah, that was the old DM5R.
Oh, okay, all right.
And yeah, the DM5R was this great radio that they came out with, but it would basically transmit on time slot 1 and 2 at the same time and jam up repeaters. So yes, they have fixed that. I don't know. Somebody said they fixed it on the DM5R even. There was a new firmware update that fixed it. But I do know on these 1801s that it is resolved. And yeah, they work great.
So not quite fixed on the 1702 then?
I believe the 1701 is also it's fixed, and the 1702.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Thank you, Chris.
No problem.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Chris, for taking all this time to give us this presentation and show us your expertise. We really appreciate the preparation that went into this. So thank you so much.
No problem.
And yeah, I'm glad you had the chance to ask questions, because that was my thing I was going to ask if anybody did, but looks like they did. Well, thank you, Chris. And I also just want to say that our presenter that we had for tonight actually bailed on us. And so Chris was generous and kind enough to actually jump in on the very last minute almost, as it were, to do this presentation for us. So thank you so much again, Chris, for doing this. All right, let me just turn time over to Ryan Steele for a minute there. He's got something that he'd like to share with us. If you're still on, Ryan, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Excellent. So just wanted to let everybody know about our little group, which is called Sultans of Simplex. It's a nice little group. We mainly focus on simplex talking from just radio to radio to help people out, basically learning how to use your radio in a simplex operation, just in case if like power goes out and repeaters get jammed up, you'll still have the ability to use simplex, because simplex will be a little bit more open than repeaters when basically everything breaks loose. And if you want to join our group, just go to Facebook and look up Sultans of Simplex. We do also have a net. We do a different net. We kind of do just a round table. We take check-ins and then we kind of just talk about whatever. And then we'll also give people radio checks, and because we have people, various people from all sorts of locations here in Utah County, giving us a good report. That way you can kind of basically test your footprint. A lot of knowledgeable people too that will help you in making improvements to your antennas so you can get a little bit better footprint. If you're like on an HT, and we can actually help you out with how you can still use your HT and get a footprint that's pretty much just as much as this whole county. Our simplex frequency is 447.825. We hold our net on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. just after the 7/6 net. Again, that frequency is 447.825. So if you guys would like to join us on Wednesday at 8 p.m., go ahead and feel free to do so. Does anybody have any questions? Nope, I'm not hearing anything. All right, I'll give it back over to you, Noji. Thanks.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. Appreciate that. And thanks for making the announcement for the Sultans of Simplex. Also, I had a request for another thing. I don't know if she wants to do it. Let me just check and see if she's answered my text. So I'm going to turn the time over to my wife, Lisa, KR5LYS. Go ahead with your announcement, please.
Well, first I have to unmute.
Perfect.
Actually, can I announce two nets?
Sure.
Okay. On Tuesday evenings, we have our ladies net at 7 p.m. And this is a great place for ladies to get on and practice without, well, I won't say it out loud, but it's a nice, safe place for us to get together and make lots of mistakes and learn from our own mistakes. And it's a great net. So any of you ladies, I would highly encourage you to join our ladies net Tuesday evenings, 7 p.m. on the 146.78 repeater. Now this is for everyone. On Saturday evenings at 8 p.m. on the same repeater, 146.78, we hold our family history net. Now, you know, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but this is the most popular net ever. Okay, quit laughing. We would love for you to join us. We have a lot of fun. We have a really short training topic, seriously, 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, sometimes it lasts 7 minutes, but you know, quick training topic. And then we have roundtable where you can bring anything family history related to this net. And that's what makes it the family history net. And we would love for all of you to join us. Saturday evenings, 8 p.m., 146.78 to join, you know, because that's the net that all the cool kids are on. Anyway, thanks, Noji. Back to you.
All right. Thanks, honey. I appreciate your making an announcement. Lisa Ratzler. Okay. All right. Now, the moment you were waiting for was Chris's presentation, honestly and truly, but you were also awaiting this next moment, this next segment, which is Brent's turn. So Brent, please take it away.
Okay. So by the way, I'm sorry if I look like crap. I had soccer practice tonight and then immediately I had to come back home, hurry up and grab something to eat. So I completely apologize about that. So same thing as last time. I try to make this as realistic as possible. I cut out all the names, folded them up, and then put them here in this pretty little bowl. I did not add my name 5 extra times and put them in the bowl here as well, just to let you know. So if I accidentally win, it's not because I added my name 5 more times or anything like that, you know. So let me grab my phone here so I can get the prizes out that Noji sent me. Our door prizes tonight are, if I can pull them up here. Noji, didn't you send me those store prizes?
Yeah, I did, but I can tell you what they are, you know.
Because all I'm seeing here. Oh wait, here we go. It's prizes are a multimeter, a work light, an ARRL annual membership, a Pocris J-pole, and a handheld transceiver. So we're gonna go in order. So for the first prize, it's gonna be a multimeter. And that prize goes to, actually, I'm gonna show the bowl here so everyone can see that I'm mixing. We want it to be nice and fair. Okay, first prize.
You dropped some on the floor.
Yeah, I know, I'll pick them up. 3773, Scott Danielson, N7SWD.
All right, multimeter.
And Noji, you're writing them down, correct?
Yep, you got a meter coming to you, Scott. Congrats.
Okay, prize number 2 is a work light. Once again, I'll show the bowl so everyone can see I'm mixing.
Oh, very expensive work light too.
Well, I can tell you it's not you, Trevor.
Oh.
6750, Rich
Rich Ramshazel.
Thank you. N7FOC. F0C.
Hey, Rich, you got yourself a light. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So when I was a baptizer at the Gilbert Temple, that was probably one of the hardest things we ever had to do was pronounce some of these names. And there was a Russian name that came up. I had the hardest time. Everyone just looked at me and they all literally said at the same time, just spell it. Don't even try. So I appreciate you taking over that one for me.
No problem. Rich is a good friend.
All right. So our third prize is the ARRL annual membership.
Yeah, watch you get it twice.
We have 4999. Kevin
Pay.
Hey, K7J NRA.
Yay, Kevin, you got yourself an annual membership for ARRL.
Okay, now these are our two main prizes. Let's start with the Pockris J-Pull. Now these are the ones that we would normally put in an envelope, but we'll just stick with it like this. $4960, Craig Bradford.
Oh my gosh. He's got the what? The J-pole?
Yes.
He lives in Eden.
Oh.
So Craig, if you're watching, and I think you are, congratulations. Another J-pole coming your way.
Okay, and last but not least, we have the handheld transceiver. And let me, okay. Shuffle these really good.
Drum roll.
3945.
Oh man, that's me.
No, it's not. It's not you, Trevor. I'm just joking. 1107 Geoff Brown.
Whatever.
N7 GPD.
That's
Here, I'll
Jeff,
even show you.
Jeff Brown.
Sorry, Trevor. I couldn't resist.
I can always use another radio. But congratulations to Jeff. All right, congratulations, Jeff. You got
Okay.
yourself a new transceiver.
No, do you want me to go over these one more time? Just make sure you have them written down.
I've got Scott with the multimeter, Rich with the work light, Kevin with the ARRL membership, Craig with the Pockris J-pole, and Jeff with the Balfang.
Okay, I got all 5.
Awesome. Thank you very much there, Brent. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Now we've come to the very end of our meeting, except is there anything that anybody would like to bring before the meeting, before we shut her down? You got something on your mind you want to say? This is your moment. Let's hear from you. You got 2.5 seconds. Time's up. No, just kidding. Go ahead. Anything you want to say, this is your moment.
Just have to say I loved every minute of it. Chris, especially DMR, and then I love the last thing. That's me. KJ7MOE out.
Thanks, Murph. Appreciate that. Anybody else?
Are you bringing home treats?
Heck yeah, of course.
Oh, good. Thanks.
Winter Field Day is less than 4 months away.
What's less than 4 months away?
Winter Field Day.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I guess
I would just like to. Sorry, I keep people off here. I'm sorry. I just want to say, I love doing these door prizes. Always have so much fun, and I appreciate Noji letting me have the opportunity.
Hey, it's our pleasure, Brent. Yeah. So whoever BMW 850 is, go ahead.
I was going to say this is N7SWD, but yeah, are you bringing me treats too?
Yeah.
No, gee, I was going to ask, are we canceling the Christmas potluck? Are we putting it on hold? Do you know what the plan is for that?
We are still discussing the Christmas potluck. Right now, it looks like that for sure we cannot hold it in the place we were planning on it, which was in the that conference room of the Central Utah Water Conservancy District. So we can't do it there. But so this is still on the table. We haven't quite squashed it, so it's still being discussed. Thanks for bringing that up.
Utah candy can't be orange, though.
Hey, Noji, I read an article earlier today that we're starting to stabilize, and so it shouldn't be much longer until they switch us back to the yellow phase. But they're gonna hold out for another 2 weeks before they decide on that.
Yeah, so since we can't predict the future very well, we're just gonna have to play things by ear. But we know we gotta make some firm plans before then, because we can't just have everybody sit on hold. So we'll be forthcoming. We'll let everybody know what's going on. But I'm glad that Joe did bring up Winter Field Day, because that is a big thing that we're going to be pushing pretty soon. So yeah, thanks Joe, and thanks Chad. Anybody else got anything they want to bring up? Questions, comments? Go ahead.
I got one, Reggie.
Okay, Ryan, and then the other guy.
So I was going to mention while he was Chris was talking about DMR, I forgot to mention. DMR is a really complicated process to kind of get into. It actually took me about 3 days after work, of course. And I'm pretty tech savvy. So if anyone's out there who wants to get into it, feel free to reach out to me. Just look up my call sign AF7RS on QRZ, and I have my email there. It actually took me only about 10 minutes to teach Boyd and a couple of others to learn what took me 3 days. So if you want to learn DMR and get familiar with it a little bit quicker, because it is kind of a whole different animal than analog, please reach out to me.
All right, thanks, Ryan, and the other person, go ahead.
Just wanted to take a second, Noji, and thank you for all you do for all the hams here. You do a great job.
Okay, it just looks like I do it. Actually, it's a team effort, but thank you, Don, on behalf of the club board and the presidency and so forth.
Here's a question off topic.
Sure, go ahead, Jody.
We've talked a lot about DMR. I know that there's a lot of people also that have fusion in the area. Do we know of any time or any point that has anybody talked about having a fusion repeater down here in Utah County?
Well, we did have a fusion discussion about a little over a year ago. And we had a guy come over here and explain where the fusion repeaters were and how cool they are and how to connect them and so forth. But hey, we're always down for another one for sure. Anybody have any different, better answer for Jody than what I just gave?
I have a Pi-Star hotspot. It does fusion, DMR, and D-Star. Cool. And I use a Yaesu radio through the Pi-Star, and I can do DMR and fusion. It does it all for me, which is really nice. So there is that option. I just did it with a Raspberry Pi, and it works great. Cool.
Right. See, I've got mine where I set it up through my computer at home. But I was wondering for like a handheld or an HT, if you're out and about, you can't really use it unless you've got a Pi-Star that you're going around with.
Yeah.
And the reason I ask is because I know that there's through Yaesu themselves, or not through Yaesu, but through the big box stores, they allow you to use and buy the fusions at a huge discounted price for clubs and everything else.
Yeah, Yaesu actually has a program to do that, but when I've mentioned that, there's always been reasons against it.
So Keith McQueen in the chat mentioned that the UCARES 448.325 repeater is fusion.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that, Andrew. And, or Joe, sorry, Joe. You look a lot like Andrew. So yeah, thanks Joe for bringing that up. And could you repeat that frequency again, the repeater?
Yeah, and again, that was Keith McQueen put that in chat. It's the UCARES 448.325.
That's a fusion repeater. Okay, thank you very much, Joe. So there's a person whose initials are BK. Do you want to add?
I think they just left their mic open, Noji.
I know, but I wanted to give them the opportunity to close it in case they forgot. Okay. All right,
I was
guys.
going to say something about it though too.
Oh yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So we've actually here in Sultans of Simplex have actually talked about getting a digital fusion, exclusively fusion only, and not like the cross where it's analog and digital, but just C4FM only. Because the 448325, I have had issues getting into that sometimes, and we have been doing some tests. It's not exclusive yet, but we're actually hoping that maybe here sometime in the future we'll actually have one going here in Utah County that everyone can talk on. So there is kind of some talk about it, just not 100% sure like when we'll get it though.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for that contribution.
Yep.
Anybody else have anything they want to bring up? Please go ahead. All right, let's go ahead and bring this meeting to a close. Hey, thanks to everybody again for joining us tonight. You've been super terrific. Congratulations to all who won door prizes, and thanks especially to Chris for giving us a wonderful presentation tonight. Thanks everybody, and until next month, good luck, and we'll see you then.
See y'all later.
Thanks.